I can't begin to tell you how proud I am to introduce you folks to a very dear friend of mine, one of America's great vocalists, one of the great songwriters of our time, and a good horseman. He loves his horses. Lyle Lovett is so kind to spend time with us in the Bunkhouse. Lyle, thank you so much.
So good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. You bet. Let's talk about how you grew up so we can get an idea of what created this passion you have for music.
You know, I grew up out in the country outside of Houston, Texas, about 30 miles north of Houston in North Harris County. And, you know, I joke that I grew up out in the country and now I live in the city, but I haven't moved. Houston has just grown out to us. But I grew up on my grandfather's farm place. My mom was one of 7 children, and my grandpa gave each one of his children a couple acres to build their homes on the farm place. So I grew up around all my aunts and uncles and cousins. And even though I don't have brothers and sisters, I feel like I'm from a big family.
Of course.
And I tell you, they were just always supportive of me and things that I was interested in. My mother used to take me into Houston once a week for music lessons, and just really encouraged my interest in music and other things that I liked.
Now, what instrument did you start with?
You know, start out with guitar, and for as long as I've been playing guitar, I ought to play a lot better than I do. But I played guitar and then piano, played a little saxophone in our stage band, went to Trinity Lutheran School in the Klein area through the 8th grade, which is as far as it went. And my 8th grade year, we had a little stage band. Mr. Muncie Ayers, the band director from Klein High School, would come over and spend an hour with us every day and try to get some recruits for the high school marching band. And it took with some of us, and some of us it didn't.
Now, do you remember the first song you wrote?
Gosh, the first song, I wouldn't admit to it if I did, but I started making up songs really when I was a young teenager because it was easier than figuring out how to play songs I was trying to learn. So I'd work on a song that I was trying to learn, listening to it on the radio or on a record, and if I couldn't figure it out, then I'd just make something up. And that's kind of how it started for me.
And how about when you went to college? How did you expound on that and expand it?
You know, I went to Texas A&M University, which I'm really proud of. My parents both worked for the old Humble Company and then Exxon, and they went to college at night. I remember going to both of their graduations at the University of Houston, and so I knew it was important, as hard as they worked to get their education, I knew it was important to them for me to go to school and finish school. And I got to go to Texas A&M, and I got to start playing shows when I was in school as a student. And it really was a great way to get to start out playing, because there were places to play around Bryan College Station, and I could go to school and do something that, you know, that my folks could be proud of at the same time. So playing there in Bryan College Station was really how I got my start.
Did you put a band together, or did you join another band?
You know, I played places where I could play by myself primarily. Played songs by some of my favorite Texas singer-songwriters like Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt and Michael Martin Murphey and B.W. Stevenson and Rusty Weir and Stephen Fromholtz and Willis Allen Ramsey. And I learned those songs, and those songs really taught me what songs should be, or what songs could be. And I tell you, they're such talented songwriters, and their imagination and their imagery and their poetry really was just opened up a new world to me.
Well, a lot of it must have taken, because you're an unbelievable songwriter. But don't you feel that sitting on that stool on a bandstand by yourself and managing that audience on your own without any help from anybody else created what you do today?
Well, I think it was a good way to start, and it certainly, you know, when you're there by yourself, you have to figure out how to do it, and you have to figure out what works and what doesn't, and you're sort of on your own. And I played places where I could be just pretty terrible. I played you know, restaurants and hotel bars and just any place that would let me play, and so I played a lot of places where people really didn't care that there was music going on, which was really just about right for a lot of my shows at that point.
But still, you had to manage that audience. You had to watch that audience and learn to read them.
You know, it's true, you do. And there's just nothing like getting in there and doing it. I played 2 or 3 or 4 nights a week from the time I was 18 years old on, and you know, made sure I had some place to play just about every week.
Then when you went out and got your own record deal and you started touring, what things did you take with you from your education sitting on that stool by yourself and learning to write songs that you hoped somebody else would like as much as you like them?
Well, you know, it was 10 years, really, from the time I first started playing out and when my first record came out in 1986. And it was 10 years later. And I tell you, that 10 years of playing the clubs around Texas and trying to figure out how to do it really was a valuable experience in going out on the road. And I found, actually, that going out on the road, getting to play bigger places, worked, you know, just about the same way. You know, if you can be in a small room of people, and if it can work in a small room in front of 20 people, like it was a lot of times for me, or 30 people, then it can work for 200 or 300 or 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah. And then you've been all over the world. You've played in all kinds of venues. Is there any place that really made an impression on you that you'd like to say, well, I wish I could play this kind of event all the time?
Oh, gosh. You know, any place where people want to come hear you is a good place to play. And I'm so lucky that I get to play so many. I have gotten to travel all over the world and played so many places here in the United States and in Europe, and gosh, and gotten to go to Australia and New Zealand. I've gotten to go to places I just never dreamed I'd get to go.
Right, and that's the wonderful thing about what we do.
It is wonderful, and you get to meet so many nice people.
And you used some of that education and those people you met to get in the horse business. And
Well,
you
gosh,
love your horses.
You know, I do love my horses, and we always had horses at home on the farm place. My mom's younger brother, Calvin Klein, was a dairyman and a cattleman, and had running horses kind of as a hobby. And he and Frank Heaton and Preacher O'Quinn from down in Harris County used to run horses together in the 60s, and we would always go and support him and watch his horses.
And today you ride reining horses and cutting horses.
Well,
am I correct?
You know, I've ridden one cutting horse. I got to do the celebrity cutting in Fort Worth at the Cutting for Charity this past December, which is you know, a cancer fundraiser.
Right.
And excuse me, and I had the best time. Gosh, that cutting could be something you'd have to do again.
Well, I guess seeing you there on that cutting horse, I just presumed that you rode him all the time.
You're kind, but really, you know, I show in the reining more often, and I really just love the horses.
I can't tell you how proud we are for you to join us in the Bunkhouse. It's been a wonderful experience, and I hope you'll come back one day.
Red, it's so good to see you.
Well, I treasure your friendship, and I admire you, and I look forward to seeing you.
Likewise. Thank you, Red.